some other galaxy that were using shape-shifting to appear to be human. Luckily, I had a pair of isotropic demorphing goggles on me, and I scanned them over pretty well, and lo and behold, they weren't human at all. He was actually an 11-foot-tall minotaur, top half bull, bottom half giant. She was a gorgon, like Medusa. Her hair, a writhing mass of hissing snakes. I quickly said to the shoppers behind me, "Psst. Gorgon, Minotaur." They looked at me like I was crazy. Seems I was the only guy in the whole place with a pair of isotropic demorphing goggles, so it was all up to me. Thinking quickly, I reached into the shopping cart of the woman behind me and pulled out a can of sardines. She didn't like that. Pulled out a can of sardines, popped the lid, and threw the sardines right at the gorgon. Her snakes went into a feeding frenzy, and that tied her up. She didn't like that. So then the Minotaur started coming at me, all 11 feet of him. So I reached into her cart again, pulled out a can of SpaghettiOs, and I threw it right at the Minotaur. Now, here's the thing about shapeshifters. They make their appearance look different, and they take big parts of their mass and they convert it to pure energy. That's how come they can appear different or even much smaller than they really are. Well, they have quite a lot of energy there that they've converted from their mass, and they have to store it locally. And it just so happened that that can of SpaghettiOs smacked right into one of those 50 gigajoule containers and set off a huge explosion. Took out the Minotaur, took out the Gorgon. Unfortunately, it also set off a big bang. Like the Big Bang that was 13.7 billion years ago. When I threw that can of SpaghettiOs, it set off some sort of chain reaction that was going to blow out the entire universe. Don't you hate it when that happens? So, the unfolding of time and space and energy was coming at me quite quickly, and fortunately I had a pocket multi-tool that set up an instant protective shield around me and prepared to whisk me into a parallel universe out of the way of the impending destruction of this one. But I realized that the entire store, the entire Earth, my family, this whole place, every star I've ever seen in the sky was about to be obliterated in a few moments. And I felt a little melancholy. And I hung my head low, and that's when I saw, just out of reach of my protective shield, was that bag of salt and vinegar potato chips. And then I got really bummed out. And so just then, as I was being whisked into that parallel universe, I burst through the protective shield and grabbed the salt and vinegar potato chips, and it pulled me into the universe, and it kind of created a wormhole effect, and it sucked everything in the galaxy except the Gorgon and the Minotaur, and pulled it into the new galaxy, and it fit perfectly because the new one wasn't furnished, and it all went in just before the Big Bang hit and wiped out the old galaxy, and no one was the wiser. I looked around the Stop and Shop, waiting for some sort of thank you at least, and they were still looking at me like I was a nut. Especially that lady with the sardines on her hair. So all I can say is, you know, get a good lawyer. And the other thing, if you ever get a chance to go for the salt and vinegar potato chips, you take them. Okay?